So for the last few years that we've talked about AEW and WWE, this particular topic has become quite controversial, especially in the comments section. I never really understood this. You see the WWE fanboys attack the AEW fanboys and vice versa. But now we have a situation that I found very interesting. And mostly what I found interesting about this was Vince McMahon's response. Now, if you guys didn't know, on Twitter, WWE Network had tweeted out that Chris Jericho from AEW will be on the Stone Cold Steve Austin show on the WWE Network, the Broken Skull Ranch, whatever it is called. I keep forgetting the name of it because I feel like there's too many podcast names in the world of wrestling. But nonetheless, this has been a very successful show on the WWE Network, which is now on Peacock. And I think, Stone Cold Steve Austin has had some really good episodes, especially with Randy Orton and The Undertaker. So, of course, people are extremely excited about the idea of Chris Jericho being on this show. But here's the thing. Chris Jericho is an AEW wrestler. And being that he's an AEW wrestler, a lot of people were curious on how Vince McMahon would approve this. So in this video, I am going to talk about that because there is a reaction from Vince McMahon, which is pretty favorable. And also, how has AEW responded to this whole thing where their wrestler, one of their top guys, is on the WWE Network. With that being said, guys, if you want, I'm not going to spam you, but I have a mailing list that you guys can join. There's a link in the description. You guys might want to check it out because if you guys don't get notified from YouTube on my newest videos, the latest news, whatever it may be, I'm going to send you guys out updates and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff I'm working on for Destination Pro Wrestling, new website, all that stuff will be announced soon. But if you guys want the latest updates, make sure you guys check the link in the description. And then, of course, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and click that like button and click subscribe, and we can grow DPW together. But yeah, Chris Jericho on Stone Cold's show. And it's interesting because the WWE fanboys are going to say WWE doesn't view AEW as competition, and that's why they're trying to justify this decision by Vince McMahon. And the AEW fanboys are pretty much going to say, look, this is WWE's way of getting attention, and it's the right move. And WWE should be threatened by AEW, and they're trying to take some of that clout that comes with being an AEW fan or an AEW viewer. And I think no matter how you spin it, WWE is in a very unique situation. Right now, a lot of people are talking about WWE. It is WrestleMania season. We have Bad Bunny in a singles match. We have Logan Paul involved at WrestleMania 37. And now an AEW wrestler is going to be on a WWE Network special event. And because this is happening, AEW, of course, social media, their wrestlers, everybody's responding of how happy they are about this. And WWE superstars are responding to how happy they are about this. And then AEW is retweeting the WWE Network. And, when you look at something like this from the outside looking in, it doesn't really look like these are competitors. Because why would WWE ever feature a competitor? Like AEW specifically, why would they feature them on the WWE Network? And I get it, WWE is not necessarily featuring AEW, but one person has told me that you could probably expect some AEW mentions in this episode with Stone Cold. And Stone Cold's been very, very honest about his feelings about AEW, and he thinks it's good that there's another option, just like guys like The Rock and Taker and other people have mentioned. It's really cool that there's more options for wrestlers now. But of course, you can probably expect maybe a reference to AEW. And I think that is going to be the most interesting thing because for so long, the forbidden word has always been AEW, at least on WWE programming. But the real question here is, how does WWE actually view AEW? Because if you are a WWE fanboy who sits here and tells us, hey, you know what? There is a chance that WWE really doesn't see AEW as competition. And that's why Vince McMahon did this. Like, he doesn't really care, right? And I could see why that would make sense. But my response to that is maybe WWE just simply doesn't care at all anymore. They're moving Tuesdays for NXT. Chris Jericho is a former WWE legend, former champion. There's a lot of reasons as to why he would be featured on the network anyways. And maybe there's rules that come with this WWE Network appearance. Maybe WWE will censor AEW. You never know, that kind of thing. But I always found this to be interesting because no matter how you look at it, from the outside looking in, it does look like WWE definitely views AEW as a competitor, the way they've counter-programmed them, all that type of stuff, But then also when you hear AEW mention WWE, they're very, very I would say unprofessional. I would say that's a good word. I think they've been unprofessional. And I get it. It's for laughs and it's for jokes and, being the elite and stuff like that. Personally, I just never really thought it was funny. When the Young Bucks are telling Chris Jericho, what would you be doing right now if we didn't exist? You would be in the Performance Center. Like, I don't know. These things aren't really funny. To me, it's corny. But I feel like AEW has always tried to put in a little kick to AEW or to WWE, a nice little kick in the balls. And I feel like sometimes it's come off as cringy. So, of course, when the opportunity of WWE tweeting out Chris Jericho is going to be on their platform, obviously AEW would retweet that and support that. So who actually has more to gain here? And that's the real question. Like I said, a lot of people are talking about WWE right now. WWE doing the unthinkable of featuring Chris Jericho from AEW. It's getting more people talking about AEW. And I see that being probably the main reason why WWE is doing this. Not to mention Stone Cold Steve Austin and Chris Jericho have obviously had a history together, from the WWE. But I always found this to be a very interesting topic because I think no matter how you look at it, there is always going to be people who they want to know why it's happening. And I just can't pinpoint it. Like on one end, if you're saying that WWE doesn't view AEW as competition, I can see how that's possible. But all of the other behaviors from WWE in response to AEW shows their very competitive side. And of course, AEW would love any sort of attention that they can get, even if WWE is not directly saying AEW. Right now, this is doing a lot for AEW, especially if you are a casual fan and you Google search Chris Jericho and you find out he's actually on All Elite Wrestling. I mean, in a way, you're inadvertently promoting AEW on TNT. So I find this to be a very, very interesting topic. I really want to know what side you guys are leaning on. Personally, I think this is a great move because I think the Stone Cold Broken Skull Ranch, whatever it's freaking called. Honestly, I keep forgetting the name of it, but I think his show has been really, really good. I think a lot of people have been tuning into that as well. It seems like on social media there's been a lot of engagement with it. So I feel like this will definitely be a big episode. But hearing Vince's reaction was like thumbs up. It's all good. It's interesting. And just remember, guys, people said that WWE would never work with Impact. And there's times where WWE features Impact footage. WWE has offered Impact their own footage. Now Impact is in a deal with, AEW. Hey, maybe WWE really doesn't care. Maybe the forbidden door really is being knocked down right now and it's being opened up. And maybe WWE does a talent exchange with AEW one day. Probably not. Most likely not. I don't think it's ever going to get that far. But I definitely am interested to see what happens. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Again, my name is Ango. This is Destination Pro Wrestling. Mailing list is in the description down below. New website coming soon. So many good things are happening here, guys. Thank you so much for your support since I've returned, and I will see you guys next time.